All right, hey everyone listening. If you're prepping for the UPSC, specifically India's foreign policy, well, today's deep dive is going to be right up your alley.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to tackle a topic that's almost guaranteed to pop up on your exam, the India-Maldives relationship.
Think of this as like a crash course, but way more interesting than your textbooks
Yeah.
on how to ace that tricky India's neighborhood question.
We're going to break down the current situation, give you some historical background, and even point out some potential essay topics you might run into.
Perfect. So jumping right into it, the Maldivian president just wrapped up a visit to India, right? Lots of smiles, agreements signed, the whole
Whole 9 yards.
yeah, whole nine yards. Seems like a pretty successful visit, right? Textbook diplomacy, you could say.
Yeah, on the surface, sure. But you got to remember, with international relations, things are rarely that simple. You see, the Maldives isn't just a pretty place for, a vacation. It's strategically located right in the middle of some of the most vital shipping lanes in the entire Indian Ocean.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. We're talking maritime security, right? So how much of India's trade actually depends on those waters?
Over 80% of India's energy imports pass right by the Maldives. That's huge.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the Maldives, we're not just talking about a friendly neighbor, we're talking about
A vital economic and security partner.
exactly. It's like a maritime choke point almost. And that makes its stability absolutely crucial for India.
So those smiles and handshakes suddenly seem a lot more,
A lot more significant, yeah.
right. And now we have to bring in the other big player in the region.
Oh, absolutely can't ignore them. We're talking about China, of course, and their growing influence in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, that string of pearls strategy, right? Where they're trying to set up like
Yeah, a network of ports and bases all across the region.
exactly. So is there like any specific project in the Maldives that India's keeping a close eye on?
Oh, for sure. The Sinamail Bridge, for one, connects Mail to Huhumal, big Chinese investment there.
So this visit from the Maldivian president, it wasn't just about diplomacy, it was about
It's about maneuvering, yeah, trying to counter that Chinese influence.
okay, makes sense. So for our UPSC aspirants,
Yeah.
what were the major takeaways from this visit? Anything that really stands out?
Definitely. The biggest one is the commitment to a comprehensive economic and maritime security partnership.
Okay, that's a long title, but I'm guessing it means closer cooperation between India and the Maldives, right?
Exactly. And that cooperation comes in many forms. Think development projects, trade deals, and even a currency swap agreement.
Hold on, a currency swap. Now that sounds pretty serious. What exactly is that and how does it play into this whole countering China thing?
Well, it's a strategic financial move, basically.
Hmm.
India's helping the Maldives manage their foreign reserves. And that, in turn, reduces their reliance on loans from, say, China.
Ah, I see. It's a way for India to say, hey, we've got your back financially, so you don't have to depend on others.
Exactly. And to really grasp the significance of this, we need to understand just how much the Maldives has borrowed from China in recent years.
Oh, okay, good point. What are we talking about here? Like billions of dollars?
Pretty close, around $1.4 billion, which is a hefty sum for a country with a relatively small economy like the Maldives. It makes them vulnerable. And this currency swap, well, it's designed to give them some breathing room.
So it's not just about the money itself, it's about,
Strategic autonomy, yeah.
exactly. Okay, but we can't ignore this other factor. The India Out campaigns that have been gaining some traction in the Maldives.
Mm-hmm.
How does that play into all of this?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. There's definitely a current of anti-India sentiment fueled by certain political groups, and they often use
To China card.
exactly. They use the China card to try and get leverage.
So it's not just geopolitics, it's domestic politics and public perception too. It's all connected.
Exactly. And that's what makes this relationship so fascinating and frankly important, especially for someone preparing for the UPSC exam. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, really. You have to dig deeper to understand what's really going on. Now, imagine you're in that exam hall, right? And the question pops up. Analyze the challenges and opportunities in the India-Maldives relationship. Where would you even begin?
Okay, yeah, I'm feeling the pressure already, but I know we need some kind of framework to tackle this. What would be the first thing to consider?
Well, I'd start by putting this relationship into the bigger picture of India's foreign policy. The Maldives, it's a cornerstone of India's neighborhood first policy, right? Which basically means prioritizing strong ties with neighboring countries.
Right, yeah, it's about building a solid foundation close to home, right in your backyard.
Exactly. And the Maldives, it also plays a crucial role in India's Security and Growth for All in the Region initiative, or SAGAR, which is all about maritime security, cooperation, sustainable development, that kind of thing.
So we've got Neighborhood First and Sagar, two major policies, and they're both converging right there in the Maldives. It really highlights how strategically important this relationship is for India.
Yeah, absolutely. You could even argue that the Maldives is like a test case for India, testing its ability to project influence and secure its interests in the Indian Ocean.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all of this fits together. So we've talked about the strategic context. Now let's unpack those challenges and opportunities. We've touched on Chinese influence and those anti-India sentiments. What else should our UPSC aspirant be thinking about?
Something that often gets overlooked is capacity building. You see, the Maldives, it's a small island nation, limited resources, so it can be tough for them to implement large-scale projects or handle complex security issues, on their own.
So it's not just about India giving money or aid, it's about helping the Maldives develop their own capabilities, right?
Right. It's about training, education, technology transfer, empowering the Maldivian people to, manage their own affairs. It's a long-term commitment, building a true partnership, not just, a dependency.
I'm getting the sense that this is a very delicate balancing act for India. On the one hand, they want to protect their own interests, but they also need to be sensitive to the concerns of the Maldivian people.
Yeah, that's a crucial point. The Maldives is a sovereign nation with its own goals. So India has to be mindful of how its actions are perceived, making sure they come across as genuine, supportive, not like they're trying to boss them around.
Right, avoid those big brother vibes.
Exactly. It's about respect.
Yeah.
Now, amidst all these challenges, there are also some significant opportunities for cooperation. Remember, both countries have a shared interest in a stable and prosperous Indian Ocean.
Common ground. So it's about recognizing those shared goals and figuring out how to work together to achieve them.
Precisely. And we've already talked about economic cooperation, security cooperation, and soft diplomacy. But there's also a lot of potential in areas like climate change mitigation, disaster management, and marine conservation.
Yeah, global challenges that require regional solutions.
Yeah.
Makes sense for India and the Maldives to tackle these together, right?
Absolutely. By collaborating, they can address these challenges and also bolster their own resilience and security, turning shared challenges into shared opportunities, so to speak.
And let's not forget the people-to-people exchanges. India and the Maldives have these deep-rooted cultural and religious ties.
That's a great point. Promoting tourism, educational exchanges, cultural events, all of that can help build greater understanding and goodwill between the two countries. It's about fostering those personal connections that go beyond the official agreements.
So our UPSC aspirant needs to be thinking on multiple levels here, right? Strategic context, economic factors, security concerns, and even those people-to-people connections.
It's about showing that you have a comprehensive understanding of all the different dynamics at play. Simply listing challenges and opportunities isn't enough. You need to offer nuanced analysis, critical insights, even potential solutions.
Right. Show those examiners you can really think strategically, connect the dots, and present a well-rounded perspective. Okay, before we move on, I got to ask about the Gujarat Doctrine. Didn't India commit to this approach in dealing with its neighbors?
Excellent point. The Gujarat Doctrine, it's a cornerstone of India's foreign policy toward its neighbors, yeah? It emphasizes non-reciprocity, which basically means India should help its neighbors without expecting anything in return.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful statement.
It is. It shows India's commitment to fostering peace and prosperity in the region. But, in practice, sticking strictly to this doctrine, it can be tricky, especially when you're trying to balance, immediate national interests with long-term regional stability.
Yeah. It sounds like a balancing act for sure. Okay, so we've covered the context, the challenges, the opportunities, and even some theory with the Gujarat Doctrine. Now, what about concrete actions? What can India actually do to, to make this relationship with the Maldives even stronger?
One key step is to speed up the implementation of projects that are already underway, Delays and bureaucratic hurdles, they can create frustration and erode trust. India needs to be seen as a reliable and efficient partner.
Actions speak louder than words. Right.
Exactly. And India should also look into new areas of cooperation, especially ones that align with the Maldives' development goals. Things like renewable energy, sustainable tourism, or capacity building in key sectors. It's about being proactive and responsive to their needs.
Being a good listener is always a good strategy in any relationship. But we can't forget about those India out campaigns, right? How can India counter that anti-India sentiment?
You're absolutely right. That needs to be addressed. And soft diplomacy is key here. India should keep investing in cultural exchanges, educational scholarships, and those people-to-people initiatives we talked about earlier.
It's about building bridges of understanding, right?
Yeah.
Between people, not just governments.
Precisely. Those kinds of efforts can go a long way in countering the negative narrative and fostering genuine goodwill. And remember, good communication is crucial. India needs to clearly articulate its vision for the relationship, highlighting the mutual benefits, and also addressing any concerns or misconceptions that might be out there.
Transparency and open dialogue, always a good place to start.
Absolutely. And finally, India needs to stay alert to any security challenges in the region, working alongside the Maldives to counter threats like piracy, terrorism, illegal fishing, things like that. A secure environment is essential for both countries to thrive.
So it sounds like this is an ongoing process, right? The India-Maldives relationship, it's a dynamic thing that requires constant attention and adaptation.
You got it. It will definitely keep evolving as the geopolitical landscape shifts, that's for sure. But by focusing on shared interests, building trust, and engaging in constructive dialogue, both countries can navigate these complexities and emerge as even stronger partners.
It sounds like India really needs to be proactive, you know, thinking ahead, anticipating challenges to make sure this relationship stays strong.
Oh, absolutely. And here's something for our aspiring diplomats listening in, something to keep in mind. Keep a close eye on the non-traditional security threats, the ones that might not involve armies or, weapons, but they can be just as destabilizing, especially for a nation like the Maldives.
You're talking about things like climate change, right? I mean, the Maldives is basically at sea level. Those rising tides have got to be a huge concern.
Rising sea levels, extreme weather, those are existential threats for the Maldives. And this is where India, with its expertise in disaster management and renewable energy, can really step up as a partner.
So it's not just about military power. It's about this softer, more collaborative approach to security.
Right. You can call it cooperative security, working together to address these shared vulnerabilities. And India has a pretty good track record in this area.
Okay, so we've really broken down this relationship, haven't we? Strategic, economic, political, even the emotional aspects. But if our UPSC aspirant had to, sum it all up in one key insight, what would it be? What's the big takeaway here?
I'd say this. The India-Maldives relationship, it's like a microcosm of the bigger forces shaping the Indian Ocean region. You see the rivalry between the big powers, the competition for economic influence, the importance of security, and the power of those cultural connections all playing out in this relatively small space.
It's like this tiny island nation is caught in the middle of a geopolitical tug of war almost.
Exactly. And understanding those dynamics, the push and pull between cooperation and competition, that's key to understanding not just the India-Maldives relationship, but the future of the whole Indian Ocean region.
So for our listeners out there, if you can grasp the complexities of this one relationship, you're well on your way to understanding India's place in the world.
And remember, this is just a snapshot, The India-Maldives story is still unfolding. So pay attention to the news, analyze those developments, keep asking those why questions.
That's how you become not just an informed citizen, but a truly insightful analyst. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, folks, that wraps up another deep dive. Until next time, keep those brains engaged, keep those perspectives wide, and keep diving deep into the world around you. You never know what you might discover.